and welcome to this month's Leadership Insights. Today's featured guest is Jason Dizzine, Vice President of Portfolio Management and Planning with Konica Minolta. If this is your first time joining us at the MPSA, this is a monthly Leadership Insights interview where we feature thought leaders, members of the MPSA, and just get to know them and their companies a little bit better. If you are not already following us on LinkedIn and YouTube, please check us out and make sure you hit subscribe. What is the MPSA? The MPSA is a group of industry volunteers across all segments, from dealers, vendors, software providers, anyone in the managed print or managed services ecospace. We get together and we work to put together best practices, industry education, and just really drive our industry forward as it relates to managed information and management document outflow. There are a lot of benefits if you're not already a member of the MPSA, including participation in the MPSA Leadership Circle, all of our publications, best practices, content, and the biggest part is just learning and connecting with other members across the globe. I know I've personally been involved with the MPSA since its inception, and this is one of my favorite parts of being in the industry, is interacting with people across all segments of the industry. If you're interested in getting more information about membership, contact information is here for our membership committee. It's very affordable to join, and we look forward to seeing you and your company join soon. We'd also like to recognize our latest Leadership Insights interviewee today. This is my first time getting to know Jason Dizzine. He is the Vice President of Portfolio Management and Planning. And we'll talk a little bit more about what all of that title means. But let's start by hearing about you. This is the first time we're meeting personally, but obviously know a lot of your colleagues and hear a lot in the industry about what's going on at Konica Minolta. But can you talk about what your role is in the organization? And at a high level, obviously we know Konica Minolta is a leading manufacturer, but more a little bit about what your organization does.
Sure. Hey, Sarah, thank you so much for that introduction. And, I want to thank you and the MPSA for this opportunity. I look forward probably most to getting to know you more today and having the opportunity to work closely with you. But so my current role here at Konica Minolta, as you said, it's responsible really for our portfolio management and planning. What that means is, I'm working with my product management teams across all of the product categories, everything from office products, office solutions, which becomes super important in this conversation we're going to have today, as well as production and industrial print. So when you wrap that all together, the entire product marketing organization is part of this, and planning organization is part of this. I'm also lucky enough to have some great interaction with customers and our sales teams here at the Client Engagement Center here in New Jersey as well. I'm lucky enough to run the teams here as well. So what we do is, we focus on traditional product marketing, planning, working with our parent company in Japan on what are the future needs of our clients and our partners and our dealers. How are we going to bring them to market? Are we aligning with future trends to make sure we've got that best portfolio to keep us moving ahead in the future? So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm doing here at Konica Minolta.
Well, I think you just put a lot into a nutshell, because what I'm hearing is really you're a cross-functional leader, really trying to understand what are those trends, what are those needs from our dealer community, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's important to stay ahead of them. And, and partnerships and relationships like the MPSA helps us gather a lot of that information and helps us work, again, with our engineering teams and our parent company to say, what do we need today in the market, but really focus on what's it going to look like in 3 to 5 years, 7 years also, because, product marketing, I've been doing this for a little while. I can't tell by the color of my beard, but in this industry, product marketing used to be, I don't want to say it was easier, but it was pretty simple to look at a competitive lineup, your lineup, and say, hey, add a few pages per minute on there and we're good to go. And we're not doing that anymore, right? We have to look at what applications are going to drive the growth, what solutions are going to be required for customers. It really needs to look at it at the portfolio a different way and really rationalize and try to simplify what's in there while hitting as many check marks as we can on future applications, future needs of our customers and our partners as well, and our dealers.
Yeah, it's just not that speeds and feeds conversation
Not anymore.
Yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely. So, how does your organization generally operate within the managed print landscape? Obviously, we're talking about equipment, which is the heart of what we do. We have
Yep.
that, that equipment that's really moving not only paper but information. But when you think about Konica Minolta as an organization outside of, obviously leading equipment line, but what has been your relationship or involvement when you look at the MPSA? I know we're just meeting for the first time today, but Konica Minolta has been a member of the MPSA for quite some time. So
Yeah.
you can talk a little bit more about your involvement with that managed print business philosophy, and then your involvement as an organization in the MPSA.
No, no, it's a great question because I think, over the years I've seen MPS evolve. So, number one, relationships with the MPSA and listening, doing more listening than I'm doing talking here today becomes super important because I think the evolution of where kind of the overall MPS landscape has changed. It used to be, again, not fairly simple, but, a customer would come with certain requirements, maybe not ready to replace an entire fleet or looking to help manage a fleet. And there was always kind of a transition point in that said, okay, we'll help you, but at a certain point, I'd like you to use all of our equipment, right? So I think the equipment's still super, super important, but I think it's turned more into, I think the term, business, enablement. MPS has become more of a business enablement. So customers are looking for not just the equipment, and they're looking to really be flexible on the equipment, but how does it fit in the overall kind of ecosystem that they're looking? So they're going to have reporting requirements, IT support requirements. They're going to have definitely workflow and security requirements that bridge across potentially multiple brands as well. So I think, what we've tried to do is adjust to a flexible point. We're working with, Konica Minolta ourselves on the hardware side, some of our relationships with partners like TD Synnex and others, to provide a flexible solution, but then also really providing an end-to-end solution by engaging all covered, our IT services arm of this as well, so that we can really help a customer with an end-to-end solution, not just specifically hardware. So listening to them, do they have those data analytical requirements? Do they have security requirements? And are we doing the right things to help them match those goals that they have, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think that it becomes more complex too.
Yes.
Every customer environment has different demands and different requirements. I've been working in some form of this space for quite some time, and the conversations we're having around just data security have
Yes.
greatly changed and increased, obviously for many reasons, but that's a very different conversation than it used to be even a few years ago. So makes a lot of sense what you're saying today, and glad to hear the philosophy from the management team. And then of course, you're head of US dealer channel sales, and I have to throw out a mention when we talk about MPSA involvement from the Konica Minolta side, is a member of our board of directors, which we really appreciate when organizations bring leadership into our committees and into our board of directors. It just really helps drive the MPSA forward as well.
Yeah, and it helps
Um,
me, right? It helps me be really connected to the business. And if we're going to use that, that relationship and what Laura's hearing and what we're being told helps us make these decisions or recommendations moving forward on what we need, to continue to support what we think is an important part of our business, right?
So, from your perspective, what is the most significant way your organization is making in terms of a positive impact on the broader MPSA community, aside from your participation and volunteering of a lot of your your leadership team? But when you think about, okay, we're listening, and I think that's a big part of what the MPSA does is it brings together people to listen and learn. But
Yep.
what do you guys see as the contribution that you want to make or you are making today? Or, Jason, as you get more plugged in with us as well from the portfolio management and planning side of Konica Minolta, what would be a significant way that you would like to contribute or you plan to contribute?
For me personally, I think what we've done and what we need to continue to do and continue to grow is really look to how do we further enable our dealers and our partners to be successful in this place. Because if you think about, best of breed strategies and different technologies, I think we need to be open and flexible to what our dealer partners need. Even in our own sales channels, right? We need to continue to be flexible and making sure that we can offer as many options feasibly, right? We have to make good business decisions. But I think, enabling our dealers and our partners to really be successful in this area is my goal, is what I'd like to continue to do. I think at the end of the day, the customer's requirements are number one, but also, working with our dealer partners and providing the tools, the support, giving them access to that end-to-end kind of ecosystem that we can provide from not just hardware, but in areas of support, whether it's IT services, looking at probably the bigger picture of our supply chain utilization, where in areas that we can help. So I think for me, I'm looking to see what else we can add as value add to that relationship. I think that's the key to the success going forward. I think the MPS engagements in the real world will continue to get more complex in a good way. I think, that whole services-led approach that we've talked about a lot in our industry continues right into MPS engagements because of those things you mentioned, right? Just think about the security aspect you mentioned. That's going to be so important, so important that we provide the same security stack solutions that we have, the layered security strategy we have. We need to make that available across the board in these situations. So that's just one example.
No, it's a great example. I appreciate that. Kind of shifting a little bit, and I think it's interesting. There's moments in time throughout history or even in business that are kind of those defining moments. You being in the New Jersey area, it's kind of like, our generation of people, like, where were you on 9/11, which is a little sobering thought. But a defining moment in our industry is COVID. Right.
Yes.
So a lot of times I ask this question, and it's really easy to talk about COVID, and not because COVID was an easy time, but it was really one of those defining, pivoting moments in our industry and affected business and affected the global economy. So you can talk about COVID today if you'd like to, but let's talk about a time when your organization, Konica Minolta, had to adapt to a major industry shift. And maybe it is COVID. And I think those are good examples because if those of us that worked through COVID, we had to approach our work and our businesses very differently. But maybe that was the industry shift you wanted to talk about today, and we could talk about COVID and we could talk about something else too. But I feel like a lot of times in these leadership insight interviews, we're talking a lot about COVID. I think we're past COVID, but that's just my personal opinion.
We kind of need to be a little bit, right? We can't ignore the impact that it had on the business. And the only thing I'll say about COVID is I'll say that COVID really accelerated the next couple of things that I'll talk about. I think
exactly.
I think things were coming. There were changes coming, and I think all it did was really accelerate those changes and get us to a point where we had to make some decisions probably faster than we were going to get ready, right? And what I mean by that is, listen, folks were going to right size their business environments either way. Hybrid workplace was on its way here anyway. There's a change in workforce mentality. We've got a lot of new folks entering the workforce, and they just expect to work a different way. So that's just accelerated. But where it really tied into was it also tied into changes in technology directionally. And I'll start with cloud and say, cloud was always one of those ones that we said, okay, before COVID, we were kind of dabbling in it. We were all trying to figure out what the real definition was, what was considered a cloud solution. I had a great T-shirt at one of my previous companies I wore into a meeting because we were really struggling with the definition of cloud and what our strategy was and what T-shirt was, and everyone's seen it out there in the market. But it says the cloud is just somebody else's computer, right? And I just needed people to understand was that it's just not on site, right? So let's think about how it's used. But it did accelerate, things like remote work, cloud access. On-prem wasn't as available, so we needed to really replicate a lot of the experiences that we had in the office in all different places, not just at home, right? Sarah, I know just in our conversation before, you've worked in like 9 places this week. So you need to have the same experience you have at your home office as much as possible when you get around. So I think it accelerated that. And I don't think that's any different in the MPS discussion, because I think what the customers are still looking for is they want to know they have the right size fleet. That doesn't always mean smaller or less, but they want to know that the tools are there, that they've got the right products and the right solutions in the place. And they also want to know, does it fit their strategy of, where my employees are working, how they're working, and are we keeping in line with our workflow strategy, our security strategy, and things like that. So I think that's a shift that we've had to go through. And now we're going to go through the next version of that, which we all are right now. And to me, that's the AI component. And when I say AI, I don't just mean I'm kind of a geeky guy. So I am an AI. I'm really working on how AI works into my personal life, my business life. But in our industry, I think AI means something different, right? It just we're not just going to put a chat button on our panel and chat with Chat GPT while you're waiting for your print. I mean, are we using the benefits of AI to service our accounts differently, support our customers, look at ways of different remote service, remote diagnostics, things that kind of align with having less people in an office, maybe less access to folks for support. So I think that change, and again, coming from COVID, we've seen less people in different areas. So I think how we use AI to change our business model and support our customers is going to be really that next milestone. And I do believe that fits strongly in the MPS arena as well, because we're managing multiple different product lines, multiple different locations with different requirements. So are we using tools properly to help support that moving forward? So I know I said a lot. I'm sorry. That was a
No, I
passion.
think it, well, and I don't know. I think we're probably an industry of proud geeks around here. So I think
We are. We
we
are.
we got to be a little geeky to get really fired up about what we do. I remember my daughter saying one time at a school open house, "Mom, don't talk about printers."
Yeah.
Um, because I would often walk in and pop open a printer and see what toner cartridge was in there. So I'm
Cut
one
from the
of those
same
geeks.
cloth. We are cut from the same cloth. Sure.
Yes, absolutely. And I also think about, yeah, I think I probably worked in more than 9 places in the last week and a half, but that's okay. I wear the mantle of being out on the road and being in person and being present with our employees is being very important. I think there's a lot we can accomplish virtually, but I do think that that human connection is still so very important in our work and our personal lives as well. So it'll be interesting to see. And so as you guys look at AI as an organization at Konica Minolta, if you, whatever you can share, what would be one of the top things that you feel like you're focusing on that would benefit, that you think, hey, this is something I'm looking at that I think others should look at, or what is something that you're really excited that you're working on there?
One of the pieces, and it's a little bit of a broader piece maybe for this conversation, but it's really using tools that we have built into our technology that were developed around automation and supporting trends in the industry like less skilled labor and things like that were initially designed to do one thing, and we've quickly realized that with the help of AI we can use them to expand even further past what they were designed. And what I mean by that is I'm going to use our production print just as an example of this today, but it does flow down into our office products. Is looking at programs like remote service management, things like our vCare solution. The thing, if we could tie automated products like our IQ 601 or IQ 501, which are built into our products to help manage things like registration and color. But what if we had them talking to the press and talking remotely back to make the changes it could make without involving the customer, which we call AQA, and we're doing it today. So now we can have the press set to look at itself overnight, print maybe 2 or 3, 4 pages, make any changes that it thinks that are not perfect for the output. And it would be something that usually an operator would go into expert settings and change, right? A little bit more skilled.
Right.
It's going to do that for the end user. And if it doesn't feel it can hit its goal, it can send a message right back through our remote care to our remote team for the next level. And then, of course, at the end, it can also, send out a call to get a technician there. So I think we're using, that technology to be smarter, to learn, and really look at how we support and service our customers in the future. Things like using, the technology to determine what kind of paper's in there, what paper weight, even in the office, right? People in offices generally don't think about it. If there's paper next to it, they put it in and they're going to run. It's okay. But what if the product could help with the right settings and do that, and also connect remotely and make some smart decisions? So that's just, one example how I think of AI different than how we use it every day. Of course, the chatbots and things are very important, but I think just using AI, even in our infrastructure behind the scenes, to learn and provide different levels of support and value. That's really, to me, that's the future.
That's exciting. I've been learning a lot more about production print. We have our production print committee that's been
Yep.
active here in the MPSA. and obviously joining an organization earlier this year that does a lot of production print. I mean, it's been exciting to learn more about it, but also just understanding how AI can be deployed to just make those machines more efficient and usable, and reduce the amount of time somebody has to go into manual configurations is very exciting to hear.
Yeah, I see some similarities between, cloud and AI, to be honest with you, because everybody wanted cloud to be so obvious in the front. And really, it was just a different way to deliver workflow or solution, right? A more portable way and just a different approach. But at the end, most people wouldn't really know if something was cloud or on-prem, right? I think AI is the same way. I think if we're using AI technology the correct way to really look at doing business in a smarter, more productive way, some folks won't even know it's AI, really, right? They're just getting the benefit, the end result. So that's why I kind of separate what we're used to with things like Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini, and really look at the power of using AI in a process, in an ecosystem behind the scenes to help make decisions and drive output and things like that.
Absolutely. So, reflecting on our conversation today, what do you see as, and we've talked on some really great trends and how you guys are approaching it, you personally, and also your organization. But what do you see as the biggest opportunity for innovation
Yep.
and collaboration within the managed print community?
So I think it's a couple things, right? I mentioned at the top of this that I do think that some of the requirements are evolving into more end-to-end requirements, that full business enablement in these MPS engagements. So I think we have to look at more as the overall kind of solution is almost like a platform, an enablement platform. So we don't just look and say, okay, you have a need for printers and FPs. What else are you doing? Present it as a platform. It's actually how I'm presenting our print technology differently these days, almost as like an edge device or an IoT end device that's really just part of a bigger system. So I think as MPS kind of continues to merge into IT, data analytics, requirements, it's not just the print. I think we need to look at that whole piece and use technology differently. It's exactly why I think AI will be a part of that behind the scenes. I think it could help with, looking at overall engagements and placements. Do we have the right number? Are we doing things? Help with assessments. Make sure we're making the right requirements. But at the end of the day, I still think that flexibility and partnerships will be the key. I don't think any one organization can do this alone to really provide what I think some of the larger customer engagements require. Our partnership with our dealers, our partnership with our resellers, our partnership with like the MPSA to gather the understandings. I think that's going to be the key to staying on top of this side of the business as it grows and evolves from a requirements and a needs standpoint. So I think if I'd end it with the biggest impact, I think flexibility and the partnerships are going to be the biggest component to being successful here. As long as we're doing all the blocking and tackling behind it.
Yeah, well, and I think for a long time, people are like, I'm this side of the fence in this community. I can bear it alone, but it's an ecosystem that we all have to work together. Especially when I think about where I sit in looking at a lot of data and a lot of data flow. It could get overwhelming at time, but realizing, hey, if you start those conversations and you bring the right people in the room, you can really do some great things.
Yeah,
I'd like to wrap on this today, but if you had to think about, and we used to say back in the day, I don't know if you've always, if you ever went through one of those fun sales trainings early in your career, what is your elevator pitch? What is 30 seconds? Tell me about you. But I do think it's important for our attending audience members today. What are the one or two key messages that you would like to impart on behalf of Konica Minolta and your leadership role there in portfolio management and planning? What are those key takeaways that you really want people to know about what you're working on, what you guys are doing, how you guys are driving things forward? If you had to pick one, maximum of two, or you'll get the hook, right? But what is that key takeaway you'd like to leave our audience with today?
All right, I'll focus more on me and what I do to drive me every day to help the portfolio more. In every case of our portfolio, whether it's office solutions, production, or IP, I take the philosophy of we have to have a purpose in what we're doing, right? It has to serve some kind of purpose. I really feel strongly that, part of the industry as a manufacturer is we have a responsibility to bring the right products and the right solutions to market because of the partners, the customers, our internal teams that we're supporting. Without a purpose, without a direction, without having some look at it, I think it just becomes launching products because you're launching them. So I think we have to make, tough decisions, look at rationalizing portfolios and have that purpose behind it. It kind of all ties to sustainability. And I always kind of end on this, that I have had environmental roles in the past, but it's not just environmental. If you look at anybody that studied sustainability, it's kind of three pillars. It's people, products, and people, planet, and profit, right? So you can't have one of those pillars. And I think a portfolio is what's going to help support a lot of that from the profit side and having the people and having that purpose and developing products based on data, applications, and what we're hearing directly from our customers and partners is what drives that purpose. So that's kind of my personal philosophy.
I think that's your next T-shirt.
There you go. I like it. I'll send you one.
I think, yeah, well, I will wear it probably on the next dinner. Well, I tend to dress up more at the office, but I will wear it probably on a flight for sure. But I do think that's your next T-shirt. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to get to know you more, your role more at Konica Minolta. I think sometimes in the industry, we always think of Sam and Laura as great leaders of Konica Minolta, but it's great to meet more of the leadership team and what you're doing and what you're working on there. So I would just encourage those that attending today, if you want to reach out, if you have questions, if you have feedback for Jason and I, we look forward to that interaction and those questions and feedback to keep the conversation going. And want to thank everybody who's attended the live stream today to learn more about our latest leadership insight. And again, thank you so much, Jason. Don't know if there's anything you want to add before we wrap.
Just a thank you to you and to the team. Thanks for the opportunity. And I really do look forward to working more with you in your new role, and anything I can do to support from Konica Minolta, please let me know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.